Mr. Bill O'Reilly, biggest story of the week, sir.
Putin's losing. That's the biggest story of the week, the month, maybe the year.
Okay. What does it mean?
And it means that the Russian military complex thought it would go in about 10 days and occupy most of Ukraine, and that Zelensky would flee like the Afghan leaders did, and none of it's happened. And now, with the increased weaponry that NATO is sending into Ukraine, remember the whole western border of Ukraine is open. The Russians don't have anybody there, so they can get as much armaments and humanitarian aid in there as possible. So Putin now is embarrassed because every military expert in the world knows that his army is not performing well. And instantly, the defense minister of Russia vanishes. Did you catch that, Beck?
Yes, I did.
See that story?
Yes.
I wonder where he is.
Probably looking out of a window and then wanting to see the sidewalk at close-up distance quickly.
Or at the bottom of a lake.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be like our defense chief, Blinken Secretary of State, or anybody like that.
Just disappearing.
Lloyd Austin, just disappearing, just gone. Okay?
Happened yesterday.
That is the signal. That right there, the defense minister of Russia has disappeared. Now, none of the Russian people know that. And probably the army doesn't even know it because there's no flow of information inside Russia. He knocked down Facebook and Instagram, and it's hard to tweet there, except the Russian government can tweet worldwide because Twitter hasn't banned them. Trump is off, but the Russian government is okay.
Yeah, Putin's fine. Donald Trump, absolutely not.
Hey, Jack Dorsey, hello.
Well,
okay.
I mean, he's probably still busy working on a reason to kick the Ayatollah off.
I want everyone listening to us right now, all the tens of millions of Glenn Beck fans, to just step back and just think that a former president of the United States is banned from Twitter, yet the Putin government is not. Now, that is about as stunning an indictment of any corporation I have ever seen. Would you not agree, Beck?
I would agree.
And
So,
it's not complicated.
no.
Even the ladies on The View could understand it. You'd have to tell them slowly. You have to go over every word with them, but they could grasp it.
Well, you had, I think it was YouTube that removed the CPAC video because the president mentioned that it was a crooked election.
Yeah.
Gone.
And so
Gone.
Okay, so as long as we all know what's happening inside our own country. But let's get back to Putin.
Okay.
So there's little Vlad, 5'7", okay? And you haven't seen him topless lately because he's now serious Vlad, so he hasn't been topless hunting tigers. He's clothed slaughtering Ukraine children. That's where Vlad is. He's a real macho man. The village people love him. So anyway, he thought he'd roll in there and that the eastern part of Ukraine would be waving Russian flags and thank you for liberating us, Vlad, you're the greatest guy. And then he would occupy the key cities in Ukraine and do what he wants in there, impose some guy like they did in Belarus and Georgia that loves Vlad. That's what he thought. Now, there's no assurance that the Russian army will even defeat the Ukrainians. And it's been more than a month.
The news today is that the Ukrainians have pushed the Russians completely out of Kyiv. So they have gained ground on the Russians.
You can't believe that.
That's crazy.
That's the problem.
No, I know.
You can't believe any reportage coming out of Ukraine because the Ukrainian government obviously is going to go, we're kicking serious butt, and the Russians are going, oh, no, we are. So, but what is beyond any dispute is that we are into week 5 and the Russians
Right.
don't have any part of this theater secured.
So, Bill, let me ask you this. You know, when we showed the world how incompetent we were in Afghanistan, it changed every ally and enemy's mind about us.
Sure.
What does this do for Russia? Because we were always told Russia was a very good military, and they had completely updated, and they're better than they've ever been. Really?
Excellent question, Beck, and I'm going to give you a surprising answer. So you have to understand the Russian army are conscripts.
Yeah.
They're drafted.
Right.
They're not signing up like the American army.
Right.
All right. So there's these guys out on the steppes. They're 17, 18 years old. They're all of a sudden in a uniform. They don't want to be in a uniform. They're not elite forces. And that's who's getting the bulk of the fighting in Ukraine.
So this is like, I thought Afghanistan was this for them, but this is like Vietnam for us. And that's not against the American soldiers.
Our forces in Vietnam were not incompetent. The communists never beat us one time.
No, wait. But there's a difference between incompetent. I don't want to take down the Vietnam soldiers by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But their heart wasn't in it.
That's true.
Because
but
they
not
were
everybody. But the
true.
U.S. military performed very well under tremendously adverse circumstances in Vietnam. That's not the case in Ukraine. So these Ukrainian fighters are far more motivated than the Russian conscripts. But here's the most important thing of this embarrassment, military embarrassment for Putin. She is watching this.
Yeah.
Now, Putin cannot survive on this planet without China. So now she is going, you know what? This might not be our best ally. If we throw in with him, we're going to get economic sanctions put on us. That's going to hurt China big time because it's an export economy. They have to sell their stuff overseas. If nobody buys it, the Chinese don't eat. So now she goes, look at this. So I fully expect, because China is different from Russia, this is one man causing this thing in Ukraine. One man and one man only, Putin. It's not the Duma. It's not the Russian people. It's him. China's different. So she, who is the virtual dictator there, he's got to answer. He's got to answer. Putin doesn't have to answer. Not now. But when the military turns on him, which I believe will happen,
wow,
that's going to be the end of Putin.
All right, so let me ask you this, because that is a trapped rat, and even you corner a cat and they pounce. They will fight their way out, and he is he's a fighter, and we've backed him into a corner. I just had President Trump on about an hour ago and asked him this question. So does he find a way out, or does he amp things up and actually consider things like chemical weapons? And Trump told me, I don't know. I can't predict him. I don't know now.
Well, that's a fair answer from Trump.
Oh, I think it is.
How can anybody know how emotionally damaged Vlad Putin is? We know he's emotionally damaged because no rational human being would do what he did. So we know that. But again, in order to carry out gas and nukes and all of this, the army has to do it. The commanders have to do it. And Putin is in a position now where his main guy, the defense minister, obviously he wasn't, performing. He's gone. The major commanders know that. The Russian commanders know it, that he's out. And are they gonna do that? I'm not sure. So I think.
Well, look at Project Valkyrie. It takes a lot for you to turn on a commander in chief who just can kill you.
It does, but when you're talking nukes and gas, when you're talking that kind of stuff, then Russia, the people, the military is the only group in Russia that can neutralize Putin.
So,
the people can rise up and they can cause trouble, but they can't get him. The military could. So Putin's not nearly as strong as he was 7 weeks ago.
So let me ask you this, and I'm not asking you for a prediction. I'm asking you for the most likely or most probable outcome here. Do you see this ending quickly? Do you see this dragging on? Do you see him getting more violent, or a coup, an inside coup from the military?
Well, I think that Putin has a few more weeks to do whatever he thinks he can do. But the sanctions are really cutting into the supply chain. We have supply chain problems in America. Can you imagine the supply chain problems in Russia, Beck?
Yeah.
They can't get Big Macs. They can't have a Coke. They can't
well,
go
I will
on
tell
the internet.
Russia, and you know this, Russia is a very different. The big cities are very Americanized or, Western.
Yeah,
but
and once they run out of vodka, I mean, hey.
Yeah, I know.
So what I'm trying to say is this. I think he's got a window, Putin, of maybe 2 or 3 more weeks that he's not going to be in a position of what they call, it's a cliche, do or die. In that 2 or 3 week period, Zelensky has already signaled, look, we won't join NATO. They probably give Putin a few eastern provinces in the country if he'd stop. They probably would do that. So I think that the odds are that Putin will say, okay, I'm going to stop and declare victory. And I'm going to tell the Russian people on an announcement that the Russians are heroic and we freed all these people. That's probably the best odds, but nobody can really nobody can really predict it. But here's something that people don't know either. The patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, 90% of Russians are Russian Orthodox. Kirill is his name. He is supporting Putin.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable that this guy, who's like the Pope in Russia, is supporting Putin.
Because he sees him.
Kirill, who is bound for hell. Hey, Patriarch, you really believe in heaven and hell? Guess where you're going, okay? If he would say, I think enough's enough, Putin would have to stop.
Well, Putin is positioned himself, because of Alexander Dugin, as a defender of the faith.
Yeah, he's got the cross on.
Right.
Even when he's topless, he wears a cross.
I don't want to even think about that, Bill.